In May 1944, two British commandos slipped ashore on a moonlit beach in occupied France. Their mission was simple: gather intelligence, avoid detection, and return home before dawn. Instead, within hours, they were captured by a German patrol. Under Adolf Hitler's standing orders, their fate should have been sealed. 18 months earlier, Hitler had signed the infamous Commando Order, a directive stating that any Allied commando captured behind German lines, even in uniform, was not entitled to prisoner of war status. No trial, no mercy, no exceptions. Captured commandos were to be handed over to the security services and executed. The two British soldiers knew this. The Germans who captured them knew this. And the commander responsible for enforcing it knew it too. Yet instead of being marched to their deaths, the prisoners were blindfolded, driven through the French countryside, and taken to a chateau headquarters. There, one of them, Lieutenant George Lane, was escorted into a library lined with books. Waiting for him was a German field marshal. The officer rose from behind his desk. He shook Lane's hand. Then he invited him to sit down for tea. The field marshal was Erwin Rommel. To most people, Rommel is the only German general of the Second World War whose name they can immediately recognize. He is remembered as the Desert Fox, the brilliant commander who outmaneuvered British armies across North Africa, the soldier admired by both friend and foe, and the man often portrayed as the good German of Hitler's military machine. Even Winston Churchill, while Rommel was actively defeating British forces, stood before Parliament and publicly described him as a great general. That is an extraordinary thing for a wartime leader to say about an enemy commander. And it is one of the reasons Rommel's reputation survived long after the Third Reich collapsed into ruins. But here is the question historians continue to argue about 80 years later. Was Erwin Rommel truly different? Or was he the most successful image management project of the entire war? The answer is not simple, because the evidence that built Rommel's reputation is real. He did refuse to enforce Hitler's Commando Order. He did treat captured enemies with a level of respect unusual for many senior German commanders. He was not implicated in many of the atrocities that stained the records of other Wehrmacht field marshals. And he did die after being accused of sympathizing with the conspiracy that sought to remove Hitler from power. None of those facts are inventions, but neither is the other side of the story. The legend of Rommel was cultivated while he was still alive. It was promoted by Joseph Goebbels' propaganda ministry. It was amplified by British newspapers searching for an explanation for military defeats. And after the war, it became politically useful for a new West Germany trying to rebuild its armed forces and integrate into the Western Alliance. Over time, the historical Rommel and the mythical Rommel began to merge. The result was something rare in modern history: a military commander whose reputation became larger than the army he served, larger than the regime he fought for, and in some cases, larger than the facts themselves. This is not a story about proving that Rommel was a villain, nor is it a story about proving that he was a hero. It is a story about how legends are made, about what happens when genuine achievements, selective memory, political necessity, and wartime propaganda become woven together into a single narrative. Because the most fascinating thing about Erwin Rommel is not that people still remember him. It is that, decades after the guns fell silent, they are still arguing over who he really was. And that debate began long before the war ended. To understand why Erwin Rommel became such a powerful symbol, you have to understand that his reputation was not built from nothing. Unlike many wartime legends, Rommel's fame had a foundation in genuine military achievement. Long before he became the Desert Fox, he was already an outsider within the German officer corps. Rommel was not a member of the Prussian aristocracy that traditionally dominated Germany's military leadership. He was not a graduate of the elite general staff system that produced many of the Wehrmacht's senior commanders. Instead, he was the son of a schoolteacher from the small town of Heidenheim in southern Germany. His path to prominence was unusual from the beginning. During the First World War, Rommel demonstrated extraordinary personal courage and tactical skill. He repeatedly led attacks from the front, earning a reputation for taking risks that many officers would have considered reckless. His most famous achievement came during the Battle of Caporetto in 1917 on the Italian front. Commanding a relatively small force, Rommel used speed, surprise, and aggressive maneuvering to break through enemy positions and capture thousands of Italian soldiers. For these actions, he received the Pour le Mérite, Imperial Germany's highest military decoration. Most recipients of the award were generals and senior officers. Rommel received it as a young lieutenant. Even then, he stood apart from his peers. The same pattern continued during the Second World War. In February 1940, despite having no significant experience commanding armored units, Rommel was given command of the 7th Panzer Division. Many senior officers considered the appointment questionable. Within months, those doubts disappeared. During Germany's invasion of France, Rommel's division advanced so rapidly that even German headquarters frequently lost track of its position. The unit moved with such speed and unpredictability that it earned the nickname the Ghost Division. The campaign transformed Rommel into a military celebrity. His division captured tens of thousands of prisoners while suffering relatively light losses. Reports of his daring battlefield leadership spread throughout Germany. Newspapers celebrated him. Soldiers admired him. Hitler took notice. This was the beginning of a relationship that would shape both Rommel's career and his public image. Adolf Hitler valued military heroes. He understood that charismatic commanders could serve as powerful propaganda tools. Victories inspired confidence, boosted morale, and provided symbols that ordinary Germans could rally around. Rommel was perfect for that role. Unlike many German generals, he projected a relatable image. He lacked aristocratic roots. He spoke directly. He frequently appeared near the front lines. Photographs showed him studying maps in the desert, talking with soldiers, and sharing the hardships of campaign life. The image was carefully cultivated. Joseph Goebbels' Ministry of Propaganda recognized Rommel's value almost immediately. Newspapers highlighted his victories. Radio broadcasts praised his leadership. Newsreels featured him prominently. By 1941, Rommel was becoming one of the most recognizable military figures in Europe. Then came North Africa. In early 1941, Germany dispatched a small force to Libya. Erwin Rommel, the German commander in North Africa during World War II, became one of the most debated military figures in modern history. Initially sent to North Africa with a defensive mission to support Italy and stabilize a collapsing front, Rommel quickly changed the nature of the campaign. Ignoring cautious orders, he launched bold offensives against British forces, rapidly regaining large areas of territory. His aggressive tactics and ability to exploit enemy weaknesses earned him rapid battlefield success and widespread attention. Rommel's victories were not just military events, they became stories. German propaganda elevated him as a national hero, while British newspapers, impressed and alarmed by his effectiveness, dubbed him the Desert Fox. This nickname highlighted his tactical intelligence and unpredictable style. Ironically, British media helped reinforce the very legend that German propaganda was building. As defeats mounted, British explanations increasingly focused on Rommel as a singular genius, rather than viewing the Axis forces as a broader military system. Over time, a powerful myth formed on both sides. For Germany, Rommel symbolized military brilliance. For Britain, he became a convenient explanation for setbacks. This shared narrative inflated his reputation far beyond the battlefield reality. By 1942, some British officers even worried that the legend of Rommel was affecting troop morale. In reality, Rommel's command style had serious weaknesses. While he excelled at rapid, decisive attacks, he often ignored logistics and supply limitations. His forces advanced faster than their supply lines could support, leading to fuel shortages, equipment breakdowns, and medical shortages. In many cases, German troops depended on captured British supplies to continue fighting. His successes often created the conditions for later failures. Historians remain divided about his legacy. Some see him as one of the most gifted commanders of his time, while others argue his reputation has been exaggerated and romanticized. What is clear is that Rommel was neither flawless nor incompetent. He was a talented but flawed general, operating within the constraints and contradictions of war. After the war, his image evolved further. Nazi propaganda had already turned him into a symbol of German strength. Post-war West Germany and Western allies later reshaped him again, presenting him as a clean military figure separated from Nazi crimes, useful during the Cold War era. Over time, Rommel became less a historical person and more a symbol shaped by competing narratives. Ultimately, Rommel's story is not only about one commander, but also about how history is remembered. Propaganda, politics, and national needs all shaped his legacy. The debate over who Rommel truly was continues, reflecting the larger struggle over how societies interpret the past.